I wish somebody told me this when I was planning my first trip to Japan because it could have saved me a ton of energy, stress, and disappointment. I watched tons of videos planning my trip and most of them only share the technical aspects. But I believe the emotional aspect of your plan is just as important. I want to talk about this using 5 mistakes I made when planning my first trip to Japan and what I did differently for my following trips. These changes will not only improve the structure of your itinerary, but also considers your emotional needs so that your Japan trip is personal, meaningful, and something you will remember for a long time. The first biggest mistake I made was overloading my itinerary. Before my first trip, I was just too excited and planned way too many things in one day. My brain was like a Japanese train station during peak hour because my thought process was, I have to do this, I have to do that, I can't miss anything out. If your Google Maps looks like this, hear me out. When I was actually in Japan, I found myself rushing from one location to another and didn't really take time to enjoy each place. And the result? I completely burnt out. For my following trip, I learned my lesson and just relaxed my mind before planning my trip. I completely get that Japan is one of the most exciting countries to visit, and you're really excited and you want to do so many things. But trust me, if you really want to have a more enjoyable trip, less is more. I only chose 3 main activities for the day. What am I gonna do in the morning, afternoon, and evening? And then on the day itself, if there is extra time in between, then I would look at my saved places on Google Maps to see what's nearby and go from there. This approach made my trip so much more relaxing, and I also became more intentional with the places I'm going to. So what do I mean by intentional? You'll be asking these questions. Why am I going to these places? Is it because I'm genuinely interested, or mainly because it's a famous tourist attraction? And this ties in with my second mistake, visiting too many popular attractions. These areas are usually packed with visitors and it's super crowded. I remember arriving at the Gion district in Kyoto, and oh my god, there were so many people to the point where it felt super messy. It is a known fact that cities like Kyoto have an over-tourism issue. But the thing about over-tourism is that it's usually concentrated at really famous spots. What I did enjoy were places with little to no travelers. These areas are so peaceful and they make me feel so calm and relaxed. So for my second trip, I visited more places that are not famous and crossed out attractions that didn't really excite me. Now, I'm not implying that you should ditch all the famous attractions. I'm saying it's good to have a bigger mix of lesser known places in your plan so that you can experience the quieter and more authentic side of Japan, which is what I love, and I believe you would feel the same way. At this point, my travel plan was more realistic and balanced, but I felt like something was still missing. I didn't like the style of my itinerary. It was like a to-do list, which was super uninspiring, and it got me thinking. I want my trip to be like a movie, with a storyline that flows smoothly, and not just random activities here and there. This helped me identify mistake number 3. Not having themes for my trip. The themes I'm talking about could be art, music, animation, history, the list goes on. Instead of just compiling a list of places to go, compile a list of themes that match your interests, and then choose places based on those themes. You're gonna use 1 to 2 themes as a focal point for each day. Trust me, your plan will be way more inspiring because each day feels like a story unfolding. And I'll give you an example of what I did. One of the themes I picked was Japanese music because many of my favorite artists are from Japan. I am a huge fan of Nujabes. Rest in peace. When I was in Tokyo, I dedicated a day to Japanese music. So I went to a record store in Shibuya and found many of my favorite albums, including Nujabes. And I was overjoyed. There were like sparkles. I was like, I did go a little ham, but it was worth it. Is anyone else a Nujabes fan? Let me know in the comments. I also did more research and found out his brother has a ramen shop in Tokyo. So I went there for lunch and had the most amazing tantanmen. And the best part, Nujabes music was playing in the background. So it was great ramen, great music. The vibes were incredible. It felt like a dream. My point is, that day was super memorable because it revolved around a theme that I love. So yeah, Japan has so many great things, and there are definitely themes for everyone. Looking back at my first trip, because I didn't have themes, most of the time I was just eating and shopping. At some point, I just got sick of it because it's super repetitive and it felt like I wasn't making the most of my trip. This brings me to mistake number 4, not booking any experiences. I'm talking about cycling, fruit farms, having day trips outside the cities. These experiences are what made my following trips so much more meaningful and memorable. If your Japan trip was a meal, let experiences be the main course, and let eating and shopping be the sides. In fact, this approach made me enjoy eating and shopping even more because I wasn't spending all my time on those things. If you really want to enjoy yourself, there needs to be balance. It's important to note that some experiences may require reservations in advance. So to be safe, always check the website of whatever you're doing. For example, if you want to cycle the Shimanami Kaido like I did, there's an official website with all the info you need. I just love how meticulous Japan is. They give you so much information online. Also, some of these experiences may mean spending more money on transportation. That's why I have a video on how you can save money and still go to all these wonderful places, because you don't have to break the bank to have a more meaningful trip. Now, you can have the perfect itinerary and have a plan that is well balanced and tailored to your interest. There is still something that might hold you back. I am guilty of this, and it's also the final mistake on the list. Letting fear affect my plans. Especially if you're a solo traveler, this might be a challenge because you're doing this all by yourself and there's no one to encourage you or hold you accountable to your plans. During my first solo trip, there were moments that forced me to step outside my comfort zone. And I ended up ditching some plans because my anxiety got the best of me. I understand that some of these experiences require courage and being spontaneous. And I want to discuss this problem in a more meaningful and in-depth way. So check out this video where I talk about how solo traveling had a deep impact on my life and how I overcame those fears. So I'll see you in that video. I love the artwork. I wish I could play these songs in the video.